I've had a few people ask lately how I make my plastic pockets, if there's a pattern. It's more just a process. Once you can make one, you can make any size you want. I find them really good to practice designs, practice stitching, practice piecing, practice your quilting, and then you can make them up and use them for anything you want. So from a large one to just a small one. I also vary the wadding that I use in them, either soft and stable, this fusible foam. This one's got fusible foam. This one's just got some cotton wadding, as with that one's got fusible foam. And I've just started, if I want it for a project, to store my project. This one, I had different shapes in the one design, and so I added in a little bit of plastic to store those papers into. This one I've added a pocket into because it's for my kite flowers to live in, and so I've got my kite pieces in one side and my hexies in the other side. Then I can just load it all up and it's ready to take wherever I want. So whatever size you like. My favourite zippers to use in them are these Biani zips. And then we'll go to the sewing machine and show you how I do it. You can also use mesh instead of plastic. The process is exactly the same if you use mesh. And now we'll go to sewing one up and so you can see how I do it. Okay, so we'll start with strips, 2 1/4 inches wide, 2 of them, or some of my pockets I've only used just the one strip on the plastic and just bound the zip at the top. So 2 1/4 and then fold them in half, and then I put my plastic on top and use my walking foot, because my walking foot just walks over this plastic really nicely. So just a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so we've just sewn across the plastic there. So just like binding something, just fold it back over itself. Just make sure that you cover your line of stitching there, and then we're just going to do a line of stitching just close to the edge. One of my favorite tools is my pair of tweezers. You'll see me using them often. Now I can just get my zip, and with these zips I keep the zipper closed, and you'll see I don't have a zipper pull on there. I find it easier, I just add the zipper pull to the end. But obviously if you're just using a normal dress zipper, it works exactly the same. You may have to alter the size, your 2 1/4 inches there down to 2 inches, because the tapes aren't quite as wide. And then I'm just stitching on the same line of stitching that I stitched on the first time. Just keeping the zipper tape to the bottom of the binding. And again, I use my tweezers to hold it for me. I once did sew my finger, and my daughter who's taping me, she would tell you the story of that. So we use a pair of tweezers now so we won't get our fingers. Then we just do another line of stitching across the top of the binding. It's close to the edge just to hold it down. And then we've got our other 2 1/4 inch piece that we'll put onto the top. I am going to switch my walking foot to just my 1/4 inch foot now. and I'm just going to, the distance from the tape on that side, I'm just going to make this one be the same distance on this side. So I've just laid my folded 2 1/4 inch piece on top of the zip, and we're just going to sew close to the edge. If your machine's like sticking and doesn't want to go at the edge, I stick my tweezers underneath the back of the foot, and it just helps it to get a move along. And then just another line of stitching that's going to hold the other side of your tape and make them both look the same then. So I just use the edge of my foot and do 1/4 inch across there. And now I'll add my zipper pull on. So I just open my zipper a little bit. Use the rounded end of these zippers. Put them both on and then push at the back of the zipper. And on it goes. So now I've got the prepared front of this. So whatever size pocket you want to make, just make your back piece that size. So this one's 6 1/2 inches square, so my measurement across here was 6 1/2 inches. The plastic, I just make it like 1/2 inch or 1 inch, depends whatever size this is, that you can make your plastic that much shorter. I often end up making it a bit long and then just trimming it off later. So that's that. I'm just going to put that onto there, and now I'll go back to my walking foot because we've got a bit of thickness there. And just stitch it all together. So I start across the top here, making sure my sides are lined up, and stitch the top first. And then down the sides. And you'll notice I just like sew over these plastic zips. It just all works. That off, and then we should have some prepared binding here. So now we'll bind it, and I bind it from the plastic side, and then because I'm a hand sewer of my binding, so do whatever works for you here, but I bind it so that I can hand sew it to the fabric. So I start with my binding cut on a 45-degree angle. I have this little magic tool that is just a 45-degree angle, and it needs to be facing that way when you start. So I'll just clip it there. And I'll fold my first corner. Obviously, just for the video, I'm not trimming off that bottom bit and wasting time. So I'll fold my first corner and clip it as well. On a small thing like this, I just like to leave a bit of room to turn it later, to join up your binding a bit later. So I'll start sewing here. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing here. And before I get to this end, I'm going to fold my binding on a 45-degree angle. So out to the edge and then back on itself. Okay, so I just hold that with my finger. And now I'm going to flip it open so we can see that crease there. And I'm going to sew just to the crease. And a back stitch. Now I'm going to not end off my stitching, but just take my foot away and around the corner and start from the outside edge with a back stitch. And again, coming up to this corner, stopping, folding it out, and then back on itself. Sewing up to the crease. Again, just taking it away, but not actually ending it off. Starting from the outside edge. And now I'm going to stop here. I'm going to fold my last corner because it's just easier to fold it while it's still got a flat surface on the machine. And then I'm going to take my machine away and I'm going to overlap these two pieces of binding. And I'm going to look at the angle underneath here and mark that same angle onto the top. So that's the angle I want. And then I'm just going to mark 1/2 inch from that, and that allows for my seam allowances. And this trusty little ruler is just got my 1/2 inch, so I just but if you don't have one of these, just put your normal ruler on a 45-degree angle on your edge and you can mark that. So then I just top that off, and this is why I've left myself a bit of room here so that I can now join my two binding pieces together. If I wasn't doing this video, I would change my foot again and just use my 1/4 inch foot to do it, because I just find that it works easier, but let's hope this does the job. Sometimes I can be lucky. Go. And then I just like to press my seam open. Fold these corners again. Finish stitching it on just the same way we did before. There we go. And then I'll make a zipper pull, because my zips just have to have a zipper pull. So my zipper pull is 1 inch by 9 inches. I just sew across both ends just with a 1/4 inch seam. I like to go across it twice. I find that better than doing a back stitch on them, because sometimes, because it's a small piece, the back stitch will eat. Your machine will eat your thingy sometimes. So I find that if I turn it around and go across, then that will do that. And then to turn them, I again use my tweezers, put them right up to the corner of the thing, and just hold my tweezers and flip it open. And I usually get a pretty good point there, pretty good. So my tweezers in the end, hold it and flip it through. Then I would normally go to the iron and just iron that in half. Then fold to the center and to the center. Getting a bit flimsy here. You'll get the gist anyway. It's probably not the perfect zipper pull, but then I am thinking of giving this away, so maybe we better make sure that it's a bit better. Okay, there we go. So fold it in. So up to the end. Now this is where I am going to use my tweezers and hold that and stitch up and across the point. Okay, and then we'll come back. So now I'm going to put my tweezers on this very point bit here and pull the back and come down and just continue folding it to the middle. Obviously it's easier if you've ironed it, it's going to fold in a bit better. And just stitch all the way down. Way better than that wonky stitching. And then the other end you would just do the same. And then if you're going to put a pocket on the inside, I did have one prepared here, and what have we done? It's fallen on the floor. Here we go. So that's my lining piece and my pocket piece. Whatever the width, you know, I've been making these 7.5 inches, the background. So I've made my pocket 7.5 inches as well, and just folded it in half, and then stitched a row of stitching across the top. And then just to attach it, I come down the side, across, and then I go up the middle, turn and go back down. That way I haven't got any ended off stitches at the top there that are going to come apart in my pocket. I did do a better job of that zipper pull in another one of my videos of a zipper pouch, so go there and check that one out for that one. So that's my lining. I'm just going to put it on there, and then I would just stitch around, and there we go.